Hey there, folks. Time once again for our matinee show, our 3 new movies. Now, what ended up happening this week? Actually, 3 movies started in the theater that we wanted to see, but because this week also featured a Rifftrax Live.
Yeah, we had to go see that.
We weren't going to miss that because, you know, you guys know, I love that shit.
You don't get that on the AMC.
Yeah, you got to pay for that.
Stubs deal, you got to pay for it, but they're worth it. It's a live show, and the crowd's good and everybody's laughing.
Yeah, so we definitely wanted to see that. So it turned out that like a lot of the new movies that started on Thursday night, and that was also on Thursday night, and it didn't work out with the times because it started like an off time. So we didn't get to see any of the new movies in the theater. So we just saw the Rifftrax, and then we just watched 2 new ones on Netflix.
Yeah. There isn't a whole lot of new ones coming out.
Well, probably next week we have 3 so probably next week's matinee show will probably be 3 in the theater because there are 3 starting that we had actually kind of wanted to see.
Which ones are that?
I can't remember what they are offhand. But I remember like writing it down. I think it was like Good Boys and that one about the Bruce Springsteen kid. And there was like one other one that I can't remember.
All right.
But yeah, so we'll probably see those next week. But this week we did 2 Netflix ones and Rifftrax. So the first one we're going to talk about is called Girls with Balls.
Yeah, that was a good one. This one was on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's a French movie.
Yeah.
But you can tell what they're doing is they're trying to take it back to an old school 80s American movie. I thought there was a lot of English signs where they were going and they were in a camper and the volleyball girls, their uniforms looked like an American uniform to me. I thought they were trying to make it look as an American as possible, and because I think that was the genre.
Yeah.
And you even had like the narrator was dressed as a fucking cowboy.
As a cowboy.
Yeah.
Like the French and stuff.
Yeah, the shit's awesome. It's got a real good tone. It's kind of like Scream when you say maybe a little funnier. This
is kind of like, okay, imagine if The Hills Have Eyes was a comedy, like a super zany, like over the top comedy but also French.
Yeah.
If you can imagine that, you'll imagine the tone of it. It's very manic. It's very crazy.
Yeah.
It's gory like a lot of French horror films are.
See it in French with English subtitles.
Yeah, we didn't bother with the dubbing.
Yeah, don't bother with these fucking dubs, man, because they always suck.
I know.
And it fucks up the tone of the movie. There's not a whole lot of fucking shit going on, intellectually.
It's a very simple story.
It's real fucking simple. But I can tell you the jokes are going to translate a lot better in with subtitles.
Yeah, because they do.
You're not going to be able to do this right dubbed.
Because, like I said, it's funny because this movie first popped up on Netflix, I think it premiered at the European Fantastic Film Festival or something like in 2018, but Netflix just put it up probably only a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And it's funny because when you're not looking in the specific horror movie section, if you just see the little title card for it, like in the recently added, it didn't occur to me that it was a horror movie because it doesn't look like a horror movie. It looks like
a comedy.
It looks like a comedy, which it is. But it does have
it's pretty gory though.
It is very gory.
It's very sexual too.
It's very it's just it has like this vulgar bottom of the, but it's very 80s, like I said. And all it is, it's this volleyball team called the Falcons.
No, these slutty high school girls.
And then, or college, it's
hard to tell. I think they're supposed to be high school girls, but they're obviously 25 years old each one of them. But
they do that a lot. And even in American movies, all the high school students, they all look like they're about 30.
They're fucking real raunchy and shit.
Yeah, so it's so they're going out. I think, now, you'd looked this up and you said that it was shot. It's not shot in France. It's shot
mostly in Spain.
I think in Tenerife. In Tenerife. That's in the Canary Islands.
And Spain.
Well, Spain is the Canary Islands. They go in the Canary Islands.
Okay. Well, I remember that I'm looking at it and I'm going, man, that terrain, that's California. It's got to be California. It's got to be California. Well, that's where they filmed all the spaghetti westerns because it looks like California there. So it does look kind of like California.
It's shot in Tenerife, so I don't know. Did they even explain where they were going? I thought they were going to the championships or something like that. It doesn't really matter.
They just get stranded out in the damn woods in this fucking camper, and they get attacked by a group of what you would call here in the U.S. fucking Cajuns, which is like these French hillbilly.
Yeah, they call them hillbillies much.
They're calling them hillbillies here in Louisiana. You'd call them a bunch of Cajuns.
Yeah.
Or Conas, something like that. And they're kind of like pirates, descendants of pirates. They look like pirates, kind of. Not really.
They kind of look like, I saw one review said they look kind of like Tusken Raiders, but like a redneck version.
They had rags tied over their head, with holes cut in it. Which, in a way, if you go back to Southern history, that in the area, Louisiana and stuff, a lot of raiders and fucking Klansmen with just a damn white bag tied over their heads with holes cut for the eyes. And they were wearing that on top of old suits and old 1800s pepper box pistols, crossbows. I think they looked like single shot shotguns and things like that. Just kind of archaic weapons.
Yeah. And
they were like a cult, an inbred cult that had this religion, and I guess their religion's kind of circled around cutting girls' heads off. They had a lot of girls' heads.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and it's some kind of almost kind of like a Cthulhu cult or something. They
didn't really go a lot into that.
It didn't matter.
But it had some cult trappings to it. But like I said, it was kind of like, it reminded me a little bit of The Hills Have Eyes, if The Hills Have Eyes was an over-the-top French comedy.
Yeah.
But there's like I said, now this is going to be like, I feel like I've seen reviews that were like really, really good or really, really bad. Like a lot of people didn't like it. Like for some reason, a lot of British reviews, they really loved it. I think the best American review was like in the Los Angeles Times. I think they thought it was great, and a lot of horror sites really liked it too. Now you have to know like what you're getting into. If you're just expecting it to be a straight horror movie,
no, it's not
or a modern horror movie, it's not like that. It's a throwback, and it's very, very zany. It's very, very shit happens in this. Like the girls, they're a volleyball team, so it's like they'll throw volleyballs at people. There's like blood flies everywhere. Like there's lead in the volleyballs and stuff. But it's like it's just one that you just relax and let it happen.
Imagine if Hills Have Eyes was French and it was Army of Darkness.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's that kind of
tone as Army of Darkness. Real close.
Yeah, there's people's heads getting shot off. There's just like ridiculous, like people getting holes blown through.
It's like Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah,
like Ash versus Evil Dead.
It's cartoonish, but in a good way. Yeah. Like like a guy picks up a little dog and like stretches it out to and shit like that. It's just this crazy.
If you like Ash versus Evil Dead, you'll like it.
Yeah, I imagine you probably
It's that same tone, pretty much.
Yeah, and like I said, it's it had some good gore in it. The characters were good, and actually there was a little bit of like tension like in the team because there was like all these rivalries like between all the women on the team. Like one of the ones, I think her name was Morgane, and she was like a real backstabbing bitch. And then there was one girl who was like the nerdy fatso. I'm like, oh, she must only be fat by French standards because she's really not. She
had the glasses and shit,
and she had glasses and was like kind of.
They were a volleyball team. They were physically fit. She just kind of she was just kind of nerdy looking.
Yeah, and like she steps up and ends up being like all heroic and stuff. But it's like So
then there's hotties and lesbianism and sluttiness. It has that T&A element of an 80s fucking slasher movie.
Yeah, but
and
also...
it's like tongue-in-cheek about it.
Yeah.
It's not real serious.
But also kind of cool because it's just kind of like this team of girls that like kicks ass against all these like creepy-ass dudes that like try to... And then
eventually. They get killed, though, too. I mean, it's... Some of them do get killed. It's it's a pretty cool movie.
And I really like probably one of my favorite aspects of it is like you said, the guy who's like he's like a bard, he's like a singer. Yeah. At the very beginning, and he's dressed like an American cowboy, except like with fringe and shit.
Yeah,
like
not a real cowboy.
Not a real cowboy. It's like
Hollywood cowboy.
And he's like singing a song pretty much about exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. Like in the rest of the movie, he's like a Greek chorus kind of thing where he's like commenting on the action ridiculous. And stuff. It's this movie is like completely ridiculous.
It's supposed to be though,
but it is super super fun, and we had like just a great time watching. I thought it was hysterical. So if you go into that with that mindset, it's a really good horror comedy. It's not probably not as good as something like Tucker and Dale versus Evil or something like that, but it's in that kind of
there was sexuality. I'm not sure there was even nudity in this, was there?
I don't remember. I don't think there was. No,
just booty popping and shit like that, and shit dancing, fake strip teases and
that kind of thing.
Yeah, these two girls were kind of making out, and then they made fun of that, and it's just funny.
Yeah, it's just a funny, like I said, just very lowbrow, like 80s kind of like ridiculous, over the top humor, and I thought it was a blast. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, then you should check it out. So the next one I wanted to talk about was also on Netflix, and it is a Thai movie, and it's called Kashue, Inhuman Kiss. Now, before we get to that, there was something about girls with balls that I meant to mention, and I forgot to mention it when we were just talking about Girls with Balls, and that was that the guy who directed it, I think this was his directorial debut, but before that, he had been the special effects guy on the very, very good French cannibal film Raw, which used to be on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on there anymore, but if you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. It's excellent. And he also did the effects on Knife and Heart, which is on Shudder at the moment, which is a very, very weird like horror movie. I liked it, but I can see how it would be kind of polarizing. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about, like I said, is called Inhuman Kiss, and it is a Thai movie from 2019.
Yeah.
And this is, okay.
We saw this one just by random. I just saw this, so let's watch that one.
Well, yeah, because I said, there's a 2019.
Yeah.
Let's watch that one. So I hadn't heard anything about it or anything.
Not a bad movie.
I don't know, though. I mean, it has horror elements to it, but I would almost call it
a lot of romance,
a love story.
Yeah.
It's I've seen it called a romance horror, and I would agree with that.
Yeah.
It's actually about a Kashue, which, in Thai folklore is a female demon who, I guess she's possessed by a demon, and then her head comes off.
And it flies around.
And it flies around with all the organs hanging down and stuff, and then it goes, eats cattle and chickens and stuff.
It's an old school Thai legend.
I feel like a lot of Asian cultures have similar.
I would call it almost like a Thai vampire.
It is kind of, but they don't attack humans though. I think they said that in the movie. They just attack like cows and chickens, which of course in a village where people are raising cows and chickens, that's still going to be problematic.
Yeah, this dude's girlfriend comes down with it. Her head separates and goes flying off. And one day some guys show up and they're kind of like vampire hunters from Thailand. Kashue hunters. It's a big fucking gang of them. They got guns and special tools, and they've got all these fucking shrunken heads because every time they kill one of them, they kind of preserve the head. And they're after boy's girlfriend because she's one of them. And he's trying to figure out how to protect her and keep her from getting in trouble with this shit. She's pretty depressed about it. It's weird. I like the effects about how it was separating and just black stuff start growing around her neck, and then the head would fall off. But the way they shot it was almost kind of G-rated. So you couldn't actually ever see a headless body, and they always kind of hid the point of separation of where the head comes off the body.
Yeah.
I think there might have been something in Thailand to try to keep the film ratings right. They never showed a headless.
I think the only time they showed her headless body was like at the end, like when he was carrying it to the boat, like he was trying to escape with her.
Always a certain way where you never see the incision. Yeah. I never saw the stump.
Like I said, I think they just showed it very, very briefly at the end, like at the very end when he was carrying her body to the boat.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I thought it was going to go somewhere, but then as the story started to unfold, it started to get kind of sappy.
Yeah, like I said, this is almost like it is a horror movie. It's gory and it's got like a lot of it's a monster movie. Yeah. But basically, the core of it is this girl who's the center of the story. Her name is Sai, and she is a Kashue. But it's kind of like a story of her and like this love triangle between her and these two boys that love her. And one of them is joined up with the hunters and one of them is like trying to protect her, and like you're not sure what their motivations are because she's such a nice girl and she can't help it. She got the curse when she was a kid and there's nothing she can do about it. She just like she falls asleep and every night and like her head comes off and starts running around doing shit.
Yeah.
And so I liked that aspect of the story because that's something that they don't...
You don't have it here.
Well, it's something that they don't really... One, that's a cool monster because like I said, we don't really have an equivalent of that.
Yeah, it's flying through the air and the hair is kind of like... It's kind of pink and it's like tentacles. And it looks good.
It did. It looked really cool. Good. Like, I really liked the Kashue effect.
Yeah, the head would go underneath stuff. They'd try to grab it, fight with it.
And her tentacles could, like...
They're pulling on it. Yeah.
She could, like, touch people with it. And her hair was kind of going like that, like it was in the water.
The CG was pretty good,
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I mean, it's not the best, but it's better than, like, some sci-fi original movies I've seen, that's for sure.
I mean, we're talking about Thailand.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, for a country like Thailand. Thailand isn't really known for real high budget movies. I mean, back when we were kids, this would have been some fucking ridiculous dubbed like kung fu looking movie,
with like conqueror like plaster heads falling off and like temper paint.
really moved up in the world as far as filmmaking, I think, in Thailand. Like I said, the only thing that really I didn't like about it is it reminded me of a lot of Korean movies. You know, having lived in Korea, you come across Korean movies, especially back in the 80s. They got very sappy and mopey and emo, and they, you know, Koreans like to cry over shit. They'll cry over shit that, you know, that an American wouldn't cry over. You know, my God, you know, they loved that shit back then. And, you know, you kind of show that to an American audience. They're like, okay, he's crying. Come on, next. Come on, hurry up. You know, we don't fucking wallow in it. And this movie was fucking wallowing in it.
It did seem a little bit like or not like a little bit. It seemed a lot like a soap opera in parts. Like there were some very, very long scenes, like between Psy and like one of the two dudes. Their names were Jerd and Noi. Yeah. And you know, where they would just like give meaningful glances to each other. I read this one review of it, and the woman that reviewed it actually liked it, but she said they should make a drinking game out of like every time there's a scene where the two characters are just like looking significantly at each other.
Well, it's edited for a different culture that has different cultural standards on how they're going to tell a story. You know what I mean? I guess you could say Americans are kind of jaded to that kind of stuff.
Well, we're very impatient too, and like, we're just kind of like, all right, let's get on with it. Let's go. Yeah. But like, so one thing I didn't realize until I read some reviews of this was, I guess it didn't really occur to me, but it was actually supposed to be set in 1941, like when the Japanese were invading, because they mentioned a couple times that Bangkok was getting bombed and stuff like that, and I guess I didn't really think about it, because I was kind of sleepy when we were watching this.
Oh, that was 41?
Yeah, it was supposed to be 1941.
Yeah, you really couldn't tell.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell, and I guess I didn't really, because I didn't know about
She just lived in it. The girl lived in a village, you know, and I suppose they're still around out in Thailand, where it's just kind of a raised platform with a roof. It didn't really have any walls, just bamboo. Yeah. But in it was furnished, you know. Yeah. Because, you know, it's fucking hot there. Yeah. So, you know, they usually just have curtains instead of walls. Yeah. You know. Or
I guess they like thatch or something like that.
Yeah, it has thatch roof.
Yeah.
But I think they just use kind of like curtains and stuff to make rooms. Yeah. You know, just poles on the inside. But it was actually kind of a nice little, I don't know what you call it, some kind of little Thai. Looked like a place you'd have a vacation in or something, like a vacation resort.
Yeah, it did kind of look like that, didn't it?
Yeah, like something David Bowie might own out on one of his private islands or something, you know.
But yeah, I didn't realize. So like I said, if you're kind of into, I mean, it's a good looking movie. Like the cinematography is really nice and everything. Yeah. I feel like it could have been like half an hour shorter because it's 2 hours or a little over 2 hours.
Didn't need to be that long.
And they probably could have. I mean, just for American audiences because we're like impatient as fuck over here, and it's like they could have. And even me, and I love, you guys know, I love slow burn horror movies. I'll sit there and watch that shit all day long. But even this, I think I kind of dozed off a couple times, during some of the like soapy scenes and where they were like crying. Each other. It's like, I'm a monster. I
think I could have edited 45 minutes out of this movie.
Yeah, you probably could have.
It would be a fast-paced, kind of interesting movie.
But the ending of it was pretty cool. Like I feel like it was like soap opera, and then like the last half hour it was like a big.
It had an action movie
bloody
ending,
blowout,
bunch of monsters, demons fighting.
So yeah, it's interesting to see like from a different like cultural standpoint, like because to us that would seem like a weird tonal shift, but I guess to them it didn't seem like that.
Yeah, Thai demons fighting each other.
But yeah, so it's almost like a tragedy because, like I said, she's a likable character, and she can't help what she is, and she has all these people like trying to kill her, and then people trying to protect her and stuff like that. So I liked that aspect of it because you don't get a lot of horror movies that are like that, that show the monster sympathetically.
I didn't really get the idea or the feeling that she was the undead either.
No,
it's like an infected person.
Well, she was cursed.
Yeah, like a cursed person. Yeah.
Because they showed at the beginning that she went into that like old abandoned house where they said, "Oh, the Kashue was in there" and stuff like that, and it passed the curse on to her.
I gotcha.
That's through a kiss. That's what it's Inhuman Kiss. Yeah. It floated out of the box and kissed her, and then she got it.
I can kind of recommend the movie just as a study of monsters from another culture. It was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, like I said, you don't see a lot of ones about Kashue because we don't really have that, and there's something very inherently cool about someone's head coming off and flying around with all the little tentacles like coming out of the bottom.
There's going to be some slow moments and some emo moments, but you
might keep in mind that it gets very soapy at sometimes, and like if you get sick of it, you can kind of like fast forward through that point. But like other than that, it was like pretty good. I think it could have been edited down some, but other than that, I kind of enjoyed it. Maybe I'll rewatch it again when I'm not so sleepy next time, and I might enjoy it better the second time. Yeah. All right. Now, just as I said at the beginning of the show, this week was one of the very awesome Rifftrax Live.
Yeah, if you guys don't know about these, man, check them out. AMC runs them. They'll pick some theater and they'll just do a riff track on some old movie, and you get to watch it live in your theater. The crowds in them are pretty good.
Yeah, they usually do them from, I can't remember the name of the theater, but they always do it from one in Nashville, which I guess it's like a smaller theater, and they always have like a big, they show like outside like all the fans waiting and, you know, all the decoration in the lobby and everything like that, so they kind of go all out. But yeah, this is one theater in Nashville, and then they just show it like all over the country. Yeah,
and AMC lets you drink in there. They got a bar.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to sneak your own in, it's more economical. But, you know,
just a pro tip from
tip.
From our alcoholic guests.
You know what I mean? But, this one was Giant Spider Invasion, which is a movie I saw as a little kid. It scared the shit out of me when I was about 6.
Hilarious.
My dad was laughing that it was scaring me. But
Because you can watch it now and you feel like
watch it now. It was fucking stupid. Yeah.
The thing about this one, I was really, really excited when I heard that they were doing Giant Spider Invasion, because if you guys know, they did, MST did it back in season 8 or season 9, I can't remember. And that was like really one of the best episodes, because this movie is like, it's one of those ones, it's so terrible. It's like so cheaply made, but it is so
bad.
Entertaining.
It's so bad, it's good.
It is so entertaining. Yeah. I mean, just the characters at the center of it are just like so horrible.
Alan Hale, also known as the Skipper.
Alan Hale is in it.
It's his last movie, I think.
Like telling his dumbass dad jokes and with his huge belly.
And the first time you see him, he's dressed in a damn copy and goes, "Hello, buddy."
That's his first line in the movie.
And everybody laughs.
And everybody's like, wah, wah.
But it's pretty good. It was just absolutely nonsensical story about something like a big falling meteor type thing that hits the Earth, and somehow B-52 is involved, and NASA gets involved with that. And they figure out that it wasn't a meteor, it was a black hole. And then it landed near the house of a bunch of inbred fucking hillbillies
in
Wisconsin. Who it's like the dude with his wife and then his sister-in-law, and he's trying to crack them both, you know. And he's just like wearing overalls, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious. He's real fucking.
He's like this tubby looking. Like old guy, this scraggly beard.
And we think he's the director, too.
Well, I think that he either wrote the story or directed it. Like I said, Bill Rebane is his name.
Yeah.
And I believe that he went on to a pretty successful career later on as like an accent coach or something like that. I think he was on like Carson and shit back in the day. But he's just like chooses to portray himself in this movie as this dumpy, child molesting, like disgusting. He's like not child molesting, but you know, but going after like super young.
Well, he was saying, "I liked you back when you were 11."
11, so child molesting.
Well, he didn't do anything to her though. It's just
he was just thinking.
And what they were doing is they were making fun of hillbillies.
Yeah.
Do the whole thing, making fun of hillbillies.
Because why would you?
It was funny though. It was funny.
It was. Well, you could tell that they were trying to make it comedic. I mean, like obviously this dude is so gross.
Yeah.
And he's just like
he's cracking every woman in town.
He's walking around in these red long johns with like stains on the back, like he peed himself.
Yeah.
And he's got like this yucky like back brace all the time, and they're showing him and he's banging like the waitress at the restaurant.
Yeah, who's also a German hooker.
He bangs all the loggers and everything, and it's just like this ridiculous. And he's like the main character, and
he's a cop.
And then his wife is like a total alcoholic.
Yeah,
and she's just like calling the dude up from the restaurant, telling him to bring booze over to the house and shit like that.
They're all trying to screw each other. And then somehow on this hillbilly's farm, he finds all his cows all dead, eaten up by something. And then they're finding these geodes that open up, and they have tarantulas in them.
There's big tarantulas in there.
Next thing you know, people start getting attacked by damn tarantulas the size of a puppy dog. And then later on, a tarantula the size of a horse. And then they see a damn tarantula that's probably about 40 feet long. I mean, it's huge. It's just bigger than a house. Gets on top of the house, starts busting houses down. It runs through the fair, chases all the little kids. They're crashing cars into shit getting on fire. They're shooting at it. It was a good movie. I mean, when you think about how cheap this movie was.
Yeah.
Okay. They must have had a lot of fun filming this shit, especially the end.
It looks like they had a lot of fun.
Where the whole town is just kind of transformed into a gun-wielding militia out trying to get to this
and they're all
big-ass
like
fucking
yelling
spider.
and drunk.
And they're drunk and yelling, and they're actually fighting this gigantic fake spider in the middle of downtown.
Yeah.
And they're falling over. It was pretty good.
It looks like a parade float.
Looks like a parade float.
Which I think is what it is. I think they just built a big giant spider like over a car chassis because...
Yeah, I was looking for the wheels. I didn't see it. I think it was on a rod. I think the car was way behind it. Out of camera.
Maybe. Yeah, like a float.
Like
maybe that's how they did it.
I think it was on a big boom because it was out there on its own.
But it was definitely moving like it was motorized.
Like it was like rolling.
Ooh, like that.
The legs were doing this, but they weren't really touching the ground that much.
Right. Not bad for probably like the $50 that this movie
and the science behind the movie didn't make any damn sense. They were making up science as they were going.
Barbara Hale was in this too. She was like actually kind of a big star back in the day.
And the NASA people and the other guy.
Yeah.
What was it? NASA and the science woman.
The science woman. She worked at the observatory. She was an astronomer.
It was hard to tell. It's hard to keep shit straight.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, a black hole comes from outer space like a shooting star.
Yeah.
Somehow or another fucked up a B-52, and they never really mentioned what the B-52...
Well, like I said, they had footage. They had stock footage of a B-52, so they had to like shoehorn that into the story somehow.
It hit on that guy's farm, and when it hit, it actually bored a hole into another universe where spiders were coming out.
Yeah, the spider dimension, which everyone knows is right next to ours.
And somehow or another, when this happened, it killed a guy who was on his dirt bike out in there. Remember that? And then
even though he was nowhere close to it.
He was nowhere close to it, but then he was all chewed up like he was eating. It didn't make any goddamn sense. It was just an excuse to show dead things.
Yeah, with like a very clean skeleton hand, sticking out and stuff like that. I have to mention... Poor Alan Hale, who was in this movie. Like I said, this might have been his last movie, correct me if I'm wrong. But pretty much other than his opening line, which was, hey, little buddy, or whatever he said to some other character. And it's like, in this movie, okay, I think he was contractually obligated
to stay indoors.
To stay. He's like, can I just film like 99% of my scenes just sitting in this office on the phone because I don't want to go outside or walk or anything?
That was 1950s style when you stayed in your office and you talked on the phone with somebody else.
Yeah.
So it was a whole movie about talking on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing that, and he was also in the bar.
He was in the diner.
He was in the diner and the bar.
In the restaurant.
So he did some scenes there.
So they moved him from that scene to that scene.
Yeah, the only scene, and that was probably in the same building.
Yeah, I'm sure it
was.
And
the only scene where they showed him outside is when he goes to the Hillbillies Ranch.
Asking about the motorcycle.
Asking about the motor. He stood on the porch for a few minutes, and that was a wrap.
He's like, okay, that's outside. That's all the outside I'm doing.
In the final conflict, at the end, when the fucking spider is fucking tearing up downtown, he's supposed to be the sheriff. He spends the whole time on the phone. Every time he goes,
yelling, like, get those people down there.
He's getting his shotgun. He's getting his shotgun ready to go fight. And as soon as he heads out to the door, the phone rings again, which brings him back. So they keep doing this phone thing to keep him from actually
leaving the office. Which Kevin and Bill and Mike, the Rifftrax guys, they had a field day with that because it looked like he was going to go be man of action, got his shotgun, and then they're like, please let the phone ring, please let the phone ring, please let the phone ring. Yes, I don't have to leave the office.
Yeah. So what happened is you get robbed of the final scene where Alan Hale, the skipper, could go out there with his shotgun and finally fight and destroy this damn spider,
or get eaten
by it. It never happened.
Because you do get to see some people get... Now, if you've seen the version of this that they did on MST3K many years ago, I was surprised at how much they cut out of the movie. I mean, they cut stuff out of the movie like for time, obviously, because they only had like 90 minutes or 78 minutes or whatever it was with the commercials. But they also they had to take out nudity, they had to take out like excessive gore, although they would leave some gore in there. So there's like a lot of scenes, like the one scene with Cousin Billy, the guy that works at the rock shop, where he comes over to the house and is like leering at the sister, and like they do just like that shamelessly, just close up on the tits, like,
and on her ass while she's walking out.
And so they took that out of the episode. So I was like sitting there going, oh my goodness, well, and where he's just like leering at this girl, and like, and all the creepy shit about Kester, I think is the character's name with the long johns and the back brace. Yeah. But with him like hitting on the sister. That's like his sister's No, his wife's younger sister.
Yes, it's his sister-in-law.
Yeah, so it's his sister-in-law.
Right. And she actually, at first, it sounded like she wanted him to dump her sister and go with her. And then she was basically ended up being like, psych.
Yeah.
She was dating the high school guy. She was a high school girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy, oh my God, that guy in there, the young guy that had that shirt. The shirt that he's first wearing, I swear to God, my dad had that exact same shirt back in the 70s. This movie came out in 1978. Yeah. I'm happy to report that, because I was kind of hoping...
Came out in 78?
The movie did, yeah.
Damn, I was older than I thought I was when I saw it.
Yeah.
I was about 8 years old then.
So you shouldn't have been scared by it.
Yeah, I remember it scared the shit out of me.
No, I mean 8. That's pretty.
Yeah.
If you don't like spiders, I mean, there's plenty of like real tarantulas crawling on.
You know what really scared me though?
What?
It's when that woman fell down and went next to that damn cow head.
Oh yeah,
real cow head.
Because that was a real cow head.
That freaked me out. And from there on out.
Okay.
And then when the blender thing, when they blended up.
A lot of people talk about that.
Yeah, that bothered me.
Because see, now that's the kind of thing where, and you know what? I think even Stephen King mentioned this in Danse Macabre, where he's talking about even a movie as shitty as Giant Spider Invasion. He's like, that one scene where the spider is in the blender, and it's really funny because you can tell she's like pointedly not looking at the blood, like what she's but she's like just going like this, pouring some vodka and the la la la, and you see the spider and they're going and then like she, and then they have like this thing where he's gonna drink it and then he doesn't drink and you're like, oh gross. And it's like, even in the theater when we were seeing it, like the Rifftrax, like people in the back were like, oh
the giant spider never scared me. It was all the little ones.
Well, and that's because they were real.
And then the ones that actually the scene that was the horse about the size of a spider that jumped out of the damn attic and jumped on her. Yeah. That one was like, whoa. And that all happened like in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Once you got killed in a barn.
Yeah.
That's what I remember that movie.
Okay. The big horse size spider.
Yeah, the big sort.
Was he about a horse? Yeah, he was about pony size,
of a
I
pony.
guess.
Yeah.
Like jumping out of the loft or whatever.
But the giant shit like happening downtown, I liked that as a kid.
Well, yeah, because that didn't look real in the slightest.
Real,
Like I said, it looked like a big parade float that looked like a big spider.
Yeah.
But I was going to say that if you saw the MST3K episode, then you will be happy to know, because I was wondering if they would do this, because one of the most famous things that came out of that was, like, particularly the end with all the, like, drunken hillbillies running around with these shotguns and everything. Yeah. And, like, the MST guys were just sitting there going, Packers won the Super Bowl, and all this other kind of crap. And, like, when we went to the Rifftrax thing, I noticed that Kevin Murphy had a Packers jersey on, even though it wasn't a super obvious one, but, like, the colors and everything. And I was like, oh, are they going to do the Packers joke? And they did. I was very, very happy. But other than that, I like that when they do these Rifftrax live, even if they do movies that they did before on MST, because they did Time Chasers, they did Manos, Hands of Fate, they did movies that they had done on MST before, but they really, really try hard not to repeat any jokes. They'll do a callback every now and then, like if for people that remember the episode, right? But they really, really try to do a new take on it.
I just remembered that Alan Hale did eventually get out of the office.
When did he leave the office?
He tried to calm the crowd down and it failed, remember?
Oh, that's right.
And then he
he was contractually obligated to do 2 outdoor scenes, and that's all.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, I'm just going to sit on my ass in the office and talk on the phone.
He got on the CB and said, that I couldn't control. Remember that?
Yeah.
The crowd ran off.
It was like, well, that's right. He was on the police radio.
Yeah.
I just thought, I'd love to know, like, the story behind that, because he's like, look, I'm a big star. I'm right here in the fucking rural Wisconsin with all you hicks, like, making this movie with this stupid spider. It's like, just give me my paycheck. I'm just going to sit in this office set.
I got to give the movie props, though. They knocked down a house.
They did.
Okay, they ran a car.
They blew a couple cars up.
Ran a car into a gas station, and it caught on fire. It was an abandoned gas station, you could tell.
Yeah.
And then they wrecked 2 or 3 cars downtown, and they caught on fire.
Yeah.
So they actually did some real, stunts.
So it wasn't like one of those like 50s or 60s horror movies where it's just like a bunch of people in lab coats standing around in offices talking about how horrifying everything is.
Yeah, and they just put in a little bit of stock footage. It wasn't that bad. They actually did some shit.
They did actually do some shit. And like you said, I do feel like even though, the jokes in this are like, obviously the Rifftrax jokes were funny, but like the jokes in the actual movie were just like painfully bad. They were just like,
some of them were funny though.
They were like dad joke level kind of stuff.
Alan Hale was doing.
Alan Hale talking about these prunes and like keeping them regular and stuff.
You could tell.
Like, oh my God, it's like my grandpa came back to life.
I kind of think he was ad-libbing.
I get the feeling he was.
Yeah.
He thought everything was funny.
He laughed at everything.
Which I thought, like, the Rifftrax guys had a lot of fun with that, too, because it just seemed like they would tell him, like, all this serious shit, and he'd just be like, oh, and he'd just, like, make a fucking joke about
Yeah, he's all jovial.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and how they destroyed the spider was weird. NASA gave them some kind of M-bomb neutrino type fucking device. He even said, give me Model 10 with a charge of 100 grams.
Oh, one of those? Okay.
They go, yeah, we got that. We go, what the fuck is this dude talking about?
It's nothing.
And then they put it in a helicopter, and the helicopter's calling a scientist. Do you want me to land and give you the trigger? No, you do it. Then the dude throws the damn bomb out. And I guess it landed on the spider or the hole to the other dimension. It never really made it clear. And then it didn't blow up. You just saw smoke. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Smoke.
And then like the big spider was like kind of
flames on the back. The spider caught on fire. You could tell they had some flares tied to it to get the fire to start. And then it started to melt like fucking Kentucky Fried Chicken gravy.
Which is the joke that they made about it.
Yeah,
it's super. The end of this is super. It's probably one of the goopiest endings, other than maybe Street Trash.
Yeah.
But it kind of reminded me of that.
And the spider doesn't really eat you; it just shoves you up its ass.
That's what I mean. And it's like I knew that they probably couldn't make a joke because one of the best jokes from the original, the MST, when they did this was Servo just going, does it matter that the spider just rammed him up his butt?
Yeah.
Because that's what it looked like. It didn't look like a mouth. It looked like the spider just ramming him up and stuff like that. So I knew they couldn't make another joke about that.
The giant spider actually didn't look that bad, but the flaw...
Not from close up.
Yeah, the flaw in the spider is that the spider had eyes.
Yeah, they shouldn't have done
spiders don't have eyes like that.
It would have just looked better with no eyes.
With nothing there.
I mean, obviously. I mean, spiders do have eyes, obviously, but
they're little black dots on the top of its
it's not
thorax.
Like two big fly eyes.
They had two big old fly eyes on the front of the eye. Like they didn't know what a spider looked like.
Right. So, and they
Put some eyes on that spider.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
They looked like two big red like headlights is what they looked like.
Yeah. They were like the eyes of an ant.
They were.
Yeah.
Or
compound eyes.
Yeah, or like I said, it was like a housefly.
Yeah.
Which spiders' eyes don't look like
Spiders don't have compound eyes. They have simple eyes.
Yeah. But yeah, I was going to say too, like the one scene where the one guy, the other sheriff, not Alan Hale, but where he was getting eaten by the spider. Clearly, that guy, like the spider was trying to pick him up because obviously there were people inside there like pulling him up in there and they kept dropping him, but it looked like he kept getting up like he really wanted to get eaten by the spider, like he was trying to crawl in there and then like they kept dropping him and they kept all that shit in there. He's like, no, eat me. Yeah. So it's just like really, really funny. But I
can't say much more about this giant spider invasion. I can't say much more about it.
If you didn't see it on Rifftrax, because now some of these Rifftrax live, if you don't see them in the theater, they usually do them 2 nights. They'll do them like on a Thursday night, and I think they do them like on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night. Sometimes they used to put them up several months later. They'd put them up on Hulu. I've seen a couple of them on Tubi. So if you miss them in the theater, like sometimes they will put them up, or you can go to the Rifftrax website and they'll probably tell you like where you can see them afterward. Yeah. Because I have watched some that I missed in the theater, like a couple of other ones that from a long time ago.
I like to see them live in the theater. More of a party atmosphere.
Yeah, it's more fun because you're there with like other
people
fans,
laughing,
and it's a lot more fun because these movies are just like so ridiculous. And this is actually the best one I've seen in a long time because I was very familiar with this movie from the MST episode.
Best one I ever was Manos Hands of Fate.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to beat that one just because that movie is just so iconic. That Birdemic was pretty good too.
That was pretty good too.
The Birdemic one was really good. I remember like my fucking face hurting from laughing after that.
Solar panels. Man, Birdemic fucking heavy rolling. Live, I couldn't take it. Manos we were good dying. Too, but Birdemic, I think
we were dying.
I think Birdemic might have been even funnier because that movie was so incompetent.
Yeah,
that movie was totally incompetent,
and you could tell. And I think I've mentioned this before, but the best bad movies are where the people think that they're making a good movie.
Yeah, that dude that made it was like a Chinese American guy who was like big into the green movement and everything, and somehow solar panels were involved.
Yeah,
I don't understand that shit. A company that made solar panels, I think.
They probably put up the money. I would imagine.
Yeah, he thought this was a masterpiece, and when you see the special effects in this, it's fucking ridiculous.
Well, why do you think it's become so? Yeah. Why do you think it's become? I mean, it's just like Tommy Wiseau in The Room. It's just this guy is obviously an alien who doesn't know anything about human emotions or how to make a movie or anything, and yet he had all this money and he made a movie and it's the craziest fucking thing you've ever seen.
I've never seen it. I gotta see that.
Oh my gosh. But he thought that it was a good movie.
Okay.
That's what I mean. So I really think like if you're intentionally making a bad movie, sometimes that can work, but I don't think it usually works. I think you at least have to have some measure that you're taking it seriously, because then that like earnestness comes across and makes it much funnier.
Yeah.
So the giant spider invasion, I'm not sure that they thought they were making a good movie.
They were having fun,
but they were just having a good time, and that kind of comes across on screen because all the characters are like so loathsome and ridiculous.
Yeah. But when it comes to Rifftrax, I think the granddaddy of them all was Birdemic.
Yeah, now that I mentioned, I think I remember laughing. Now this is probably like
this is a good one too. But
this is pretty close because I remember cracking up at a lot of the
Manos is close to Birdemic.
Yeah,
but man, that shit was fucking hilarious, man. I couldn't stand it.
I know. Now I'm going to see if like, because maybe they have it on Tubi. I have to go now. I have to go watch Birdemic again, the Rifftrax version of it, because I fucking love it.
Because they just called it over and over again, like how fucked up that movie was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, these guys have been doing this for all of their professional lives, so they're good at this kind of shit.
Yeah. Making fun of the edits and the fucking when camera angles and change and shit. It was like, oh no, you're good.
Mike still makes jokes about solar panels.
Yeah, solar panels.
Solar panels.
Yeah.
But yeah, so next time Rifftrax Live comes to a theater near you, you should definitely go check them out because they're very, very funny and they're super fun. I mean, you know, if you're an MST fan and you like that kind of thing, I mean, who's not? Everybody loves MST. Come on. So go check them out next time.